All right, everybody, welcome to a new video. This is going to be training on how to find a title company. Now, it's really important to find a title company that can perform a double closing. Typically, this is the person who has a home who's selling the home. This is the wholesaler, and this is the cash buyer. There's two ways this transaction can go down. You can have the contract on the property with intention to buy the property for $25,000, and then you assign that contract to your buyer. So the buyer is purchasing from the home seller. That's a typical assignment contract, and that's something you need to ask and vet your title companies, your escrow companies, to find out if they do that before you use them. Otherwise, you're going to be in the room for a headache. And we're going to get to finding the title companies in a minute here, but I also want to explain double closing. Double closing is when you have the same seller, same wholesaler, and you have the same buyer, but let's say they're selling it for 25,000 and then you're selling it for 75,000. So you'll make $50,000 profit and maybe the buyer won't be comfortable with that amount. So what you're going to do is you're going to purchase the property from this seller and then you're going to sell the actual property, not the interest in the property, not the contract, but you're going to actually buy the property for $25,000 and then sell the property for $75,000. So you'll need two contracts, an A to B contract closing and then a B to C contract closing. It's called a double close. One close, two close. So title companies need to be familiar with this double close method. If they're not familiar with this, they're not really investor friendly. So how do you find these title companies? It's pretty simple. You just type it into Google here. Escrow companies, Yelp, San Diego is where I'm at. So I type in San Diego. Now you could type it into here, but in reality, San Diego, there we go. This is going to be the top 10. We don't want just the top 10. What we're going to do is we're going to open up filters, sort by the highest rated, because you want to work with the best ones, not the ones that people complain about. And it's actually real estate services is typically what they're classified as. So now if you scroll down, there's 10 people on this page with 9 total pages. That's 90 escrow companies. Right now you're looking at the top 10 best reviewed, so to speak, because this person's higher than he should be. They're 4.5, not 5 stars. That's another video there. But these are basically some of the best escrow agents out there. Now, you simply just open them up into a new window. Newman, San Diego Real Estate Agents. Keep in mind it says real estate agents. They're not an escrow company. Couldn't be more pleased with them coordinating with Laura, the escrow company. Escrow company is not them, so you would not open that. So keep that in mind in the photo, the title, and the breakdown of what they actually are. West Coast Funding. They might not be an escrow service either, but it's worth opening up. Team Properties. Quick review services. They might be escrow company. Really, to be able to get through these quickly, what you want to do is just stay up here, type in Control F to search the page. Search the page for escrow. Enter, enter, and there we go. Well, they're talking about the escrow company. Here is an actual escrow company, Foundations Escrow. So this is an actual escrow company. There's also the Honest Agents. Looks like they might be an escrow company as well. Heritage Escrow Company, because you're looking for a title company, but they are also, depending on where you're located, they prefer to be called escrow company. So escrow, escrow. So once you have all of these open, it's pretty straightforward. And this is what I've done. I could include this spreadsheet down below. You basically check mark yes or no to see if they are comfortable or they have performed or they're familiar with. If they're familiar with is a better way of phrasing it when you give them a call. Are you familiar with assignment of contracts? No? Okay. Are you familiar with back-to-back closings? No? Okay, bye. Have a good day. So you basically ask to speak with their most qualified closing agent. And if they're not familiar with assignment of contracts or back-to-back closings, goodbye. Go to the next title company there. So once you have your search here and you open up all the escrow companies, you simply, of course, copy paste the title of the company, the Yelp link, which is just right there, just that link. Get their address later. I'm going to do that later. Phone number is going to be scroll down right there. Copy paste it over. Give them a call. When you call, see who they're most qualified. Their most experienced closing agent. That's who you want to actually talk to. Their most experienced closing agent. And then when you talk to them, you ask them these questions. So basically, they're the most qualified person in the building. Are you familiar with assignment of contracts? Are you familiar with back-to-back closings? And then if you go that far and they say, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yeah, we deal with investors. We know what that is. Okay, are you familiar with transactional funding? Do you guys require transactional funding? No, I'm not sure what transactional funding is. Or yes, I am familiar with what transactional funding is. Okay, great. So do you require transactional funding, or can you close from A to B to B to C? Can you double close on dry? Can you do a dry closing, which is basically use the buyer's funds to close the seller's transaction and your transaction? You're going to use the buyer's funds. Transactional funding is when you have to actually buy the seller's house, and then 10 minutes later, the escrow company sells that house to the end buyer. Most title companies will want transactional funding because you will have to pay closing costs for buying the home from the seller, and the buyer will have to pay closing costs from buying from you. So title companies really like it if you use transactional funding. It costs 1% for transactional funding, and it costs anywhere between 5 to 6% for closing costs. So if they double that, they got 2% and 5 to 6% right there. Well, sorry, it stays 1% for transactional funding, but you get the idea. It goes up 10 to 12% for the actual closing costs. So the closing costs double. So of course, if you know what transactional funding is, it's better for them. But dry closings are really most important. And then you should ask them as a final question to see if they're a really good real estate investor friendly title company. Do you have a non-refundable earnest money deposit? So if what happens if my buyer puts down $5,000 of a non-refundable earnest money deposit and he backs out of the deal on the last day, even though he signed a contract saying that he has intent to purchase, and he put down $5,000 of a non-refundable earnest money deposit, but he backs out on the last day and he decides not to purchase the property. Do you refund that? Do you have the buyer sign off to send the non-refundable deposit to me? Or do you just give me the non-refundable deposit because the buyer backed out and it's non-refundable? This is not make it or break it, but it's very important to know whose side is the title company on? Do they know that you're paying them and that they're on your side? And if you get all these check marks, lock this person down like a marriage, because this is the person that you want to go with. This is the escrow company you want to go with. But for now, we're going to start out with question marks because we need to find out. We need to get in hold of an agent. I haven't been able to speak to an agent yet at any of these title companies because, as you can see, it's 7 p.m. Most of these places are going to be closed right now. So right now, I'm going to leave voicemails. And after I leave voicemails, I'm going to go send them an email. So that's my way of following up to find out if I can get the right title company because I have a $750,000 deal right now that I'm ready to get under contract. I just want to get a title company in place so I can put that title company's name on that contract, and then I'm going to be able to purchase it for around $675,000. So I don't know if you follow the math there, but that's around $75,000 of a potential profit, as long as the buyer stays confirmed good with $750,000 for this piece of land with a multifamily house on it. So as long as everything goes good, I'll make $75,000. But the thing is, I'll have to double close. So there's the corporate seller. There's me. and then there is the multifamily residence buyer. So he has the property next door, and he wants to buy the property that the corporate seller has, and he wants to build a big multifamily on two pieces of land, basically tear everything down and build a really big multifamily on both pieces of land instead of just his land that he owns next to it. And I kind of stand in the middle here. So what I basically need to do is I need to get a contract with the seller, and I need to get a contract with the buyer. So I basically need to close at a title company with the corporate seller who's selling their property. They just want some liquid cash. So I need to close with this person first, and I need the title company to then close with the buyer. And I need them to use the buyer's funds to fund the whole transaction for the double close. Or I need to find out if I need transactional funding, which costs 1%, to basically close with the seller and then 10 minutes later close with the buyer as a second contract there. I will not be doing an assignment of contract because most people are not comfortable with a wholesaler making $75,000. So this is why you want to do the research on a title company before you call them, because you want to make sure they're familiar with double close. You want to make sure they're familiar with wet funding, which is transactional funding, or if they're familiar with dry closings, which is using the buyer's funds, having the buyer deposit all of their money, and that money funds both closings. That's obviously contingent on the buyer putting the money down. If the buyer doesn't put the money down, you can't close you can't close this contract and transaction, and you can't close this one because the buyer's funds need to be there. So transactional funding allows you to at least buy the property, but transactional funding will not happen unless the buyer puts money to buy your part of the contract, your part of the property. So either way, it's contingent on the buyer. So a dry closing without transactional funding, which costs more money, a dry closing using the buyer's money is obviously an ideal situation. And that's what we're looking for. We're trying to vet these title companies right here to find out which one would be able to help us out in that aspect. All right, cool. Hopefully you got something valuable from this, and hopefully you can realize, wow, I didn't realize finding a title company was this easy. I can just go through, find out all these escrow companies, all these title companies in my area that are rated the best on Yelp. Simply give them a phone call, ask them 3 questions. And I always like to give the valuable information at the end of the video, so let me go ahead and drop these nuggets right now. So what questions uh, you need to ask? So there's 1, 2, and 3. So first and most important questions, are you familiar with assignments of contracts? Very important. If they don't know that, then you should not be dealing with them. Second most important question, are you familiar with back to back or double closings? If they don't know how to do that, I don't know. You could work with somebody who does assignment of contracts, but if they don't know how to do double closings, that could be okay. But as you could tell with this first deal right here, I'm gonna need somebody who knows about double closings. Are you familiar with transactional funding, or can you provide dry closing using the end buyer's cash to close? So those are questions that you can ask, and these are the most important questions to ask. So thanks for staying towards the end of the video. If you got something valuable from this video, cost nothing to you. Maybe just give the video a like. If you got any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. Now is definitely the time to do it if you haven't already. I'll respond to you. Keep in mind, this video is going to be up for a while, so maybe people in the future will be able to respond to you as well. So if you're able to help anybody out in the comments, if I'm able to help out anybody in the comments, I'll be down there. But yeah, so this is how you find a title company that is rated really, really well, has a good reputation, and you can basically vet them by giving them a phone call or sending them an email and finding out if they can perform all those tasks. Oh, one little tidbit, probably only 2 people are going to be watching this part of the video. How do you get their email? Because it's not on Yelp, right? So I didn't mention that. Let me go ahead and show you how you do that. So you can go to their website, or you can go to their Facebook page, search, and then type in Facebook, new venture Facebook, San Diego. There we go. And then when you go to About, is that the same people? Yeah, I recognize her. Yeah. And About. Now, when you scroll down, it should be, boom, there you go, right there. Usually their email is on their About on their Facebook page. So ta-da, now I have their email, and I just simply send them a copy paste email of a paragraph that I wrote up, basically asking them, hey, are you guys familiar with cash investors? Can you give me a call? Can you email me back? And then when they email you back, you basically ask the 1, 2, 3 bullet points. It's better to do this over the phone. That way, it doesn't really sound like an interrogation via email. But yeah, so that's how you can pull up an email. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day.